Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are going to learn about cumulative frequency. We've got 4 success criteria, and the first one is to complete a cumulative frequency table. So cumulative means increasing in quantity. So when we complete a cumulative frequency table, we're going to add up the frequency as we go. So the table shows information about the heights of 50 people in a gym, and we want to complete the cumulative frequency table. So remember, frequency means the amount of. So there were 8 people who had a height between 170 and 175 centimeters tall. There were 18 people who had a height of between 175 and 180 centimeters. 14 people who had a height of 180 to 185 centimeters, and so on. So cumulative frequency means we add these up as we go. So to complete the cumulative frequency table, if you notice in the height column, they all start with 170. So in the first row, we want to say how many people had a height between 170 and 175. Well, that's 8 people. Then we want to say how many people had a height between 170 and 180. So we need to add 8 and 18 together. So that's 26. Next, we want to say how many people had a height between 170 and 185. So we need to add 8, 18 and 14 together. Then we need to say how many people had a height between 170 and 190. So we need to add on 4 to that. So we're adding up 8 plus 18 plus 14 plus 4. So that's 44 people. And then finally, how many people had a height between 170 and 195? So we add on 6. So that's 50. Here's 2 questions for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to mark your work, press play. Here are your answers. So there's your green answers and your amber answers. Now we've completed success criteria 1. So we're going to move on to number 2, and this is to draw a cumulative frequency graph. So the table shows the marks of 80 students that sat a test. We want to plot the cumulative frequency graph for this information. So first of all, we need to fill in the cumulative frequency table. So we start with 8, then we add on 15, then we add on 25, then we add on 17, then we add on 9, and then we add on 6. Now we can plot these on the graph. So we always plot from the end points. So that means if we have a look at the interval in the marks, I'm going to start at 10 and I'm going to go up to 8 and put a cross. For the next one, I'll go up from 20 and put a cross at 23. Then I go up from 30 and put a cross at 48. Go up from 40 and put a cross at 65. Then go up from 50 and put a cross at 74. Then go up from 60 and put a cross at 80. Now that I've plotted all the points, I can draw a smooth curve, freehand, that goes for all the points. Remember, this needs to be a smooth curve, so don't use a ruler. And make sure to join the end up with 0, 0, or the corner of the graph. Here's a question for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see what you should have done, press play. So let's have a look at this question. So we start by completing the cumulative frequency table. So we do 5 plus 18 plus 12 plus 4 plus 1. Now we can plot these on the graph. So I start at 175 and go up to 5. Then go from 180 and up to 23. Then from 185 go up to 35. Then from 190 go up to 39. And then from 195 go up to 40. Then I join them up with a smooth curve. Now we've completed success criteria 2, so we're going to move on to number 3, and this is to estimate values from a cumulative frequency graph. So here I've got my cumulative frequency graph for the 80 students. We want to estimate how many students scored 25 marks or less. So we want 25 marks or less, so that means we need to go up from where we mark on 25 marks. So the marks column go across, so that's the x-axis. So we find 25, which is there. We go up from 25 to the curve, and then we read across. So that's 34 students. Now because it's cumulative frequency, the cumulative frequency tells you how many got 25 marks or less. So the answer is 34 students. This time we want to estimate the number of students who got more than 55 marks. So like last time, we find out where 55 marks is. So it's there. And we go up from 55 to the curve, and then we read across. Now that will tell us, because it's at 77, that there are 77 pupils that got less than 55 marks. So to find out how many got more than 55 marks, we need to take it away from the total amount. So we do 80, because it's out of 80 students, take away 77. So that tells us there are 3 students who got more than 55 marks. Here's a question for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see what you should have done, press play. So let's go through this question. We want to use the graph to find an estimate for the number of batteries that lasted longer than 60 hours. So we want to find out how many batteries were greater than 60 hours. So we go up from 60, up to the curve, and we read across. So that's 33. So there were 33 batteries that lasted less than 60 hours. So to find out how many lasted more than 60 hours, we need to take that away from the total amount, which is 100. So 100 take away 33 is 67. So there were 67 batteries that lasted more than 60 hours. Then we want to use the graph to estimate the number of batteries that lasted up to 56 hours. So this is how many batteries lasted 56 hours or less. So we go up from 56, and then we read across. So that's 15. So there were 15 batteries that lasted 56 hours or less. And now we've completed success criteria 3. So now we're going to do success criteria 4, and this is to estimate averages from a cumulative frequency graph. So the interquartile range is the middle 50% of the data. So that's where you get rid of the smallest 25% and the largest 25%. So you're left with the middle 50% of the data. To find the interquartile range, we do the upper quartile, take away the lower quartile. The upper quartile is 3/4 of the data, and the lower quartile is the first quarter of the data. So we want to find the median mark, and the median is the middle. So if there are 80 students, it's going to be the 40th student, because that's the person in the middle, that gives us the median mark. So we want the 40th student. So we go across from 40 in the cumulative frequency this time, and then we go down and we read off the mark. So the 40th student got approximately 27 marks. So the median is 27. This time we want to find out the interquartile range. So for that we need the upper and lower quartile. So if we work out the lower quartile first, and that's the first quarter of the data. So a quarter of 80 is 20. So we need to go across from 20. So we go across from 20 to the curve and then read down. So that's 19. Then we find the upper quartile. So we want 3/4 of the data. Now there's 80 students, so 3/4 of 80 is 60. So we go across from 60 till we hit the curve, and then we go down. And that's 36. So the interquartile range will be the upper quartile take away the lower quartile. So 36 take away 19. So the interquartile range is 17. Here's a question for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see what you should have done, press play. So for this question, we're looking at 100 batteries. So the median is going to be the 50th battery. So we go across from 50 to find the median, and then read down. So that's 62.5 hours. Then we want the interquartile range. So we want the lower quartile, which is a quarter of the data. So a quarter of 100 is 25. So we go across from 25 and read down. So the lower quartile is 58.5. The upper quartile is 3/4 of the data. So 3/4 of 100 is 75. So we go across from 75 and then go down. So the upper quartile is 66. So the interquartile range is the upper quartile take away the lower quartile. So 66 take away 58.5, which is 7.5. And now we've completed success criteria 4. So now that we've completed the last objective, it's time to end the video. Hope you enjoyed it and hope you found it useful. Make sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out the other videos on the rest of the channel. I'll see you next time. See ya.